Harvest Moon is a game known for its relaxing atmosphere and simplistic gameplay. It was also well known for its numerous glitches and translation errors. I already talked about some of these, such as how Jamie of Magical Melody hates people and his very unusually named dog. And then there's the very first Harvest Moon game for the SNES, where it seemed like every other sentence of the game had at least one error. Also, my dog got stuck at the kitchen table and I couldn't get him out, but that footage is now unfortunately lost. With so many glitches and typos in the series, I thought it'd be interesting to point out some more. Another one of the more infamous mistakes was on the title screen of Harvest Moon 64, where Natsume spelled their own name wrong. Technically, this isn't an incorrect spelling, as in Japanese this is also considered a valid spelling for the company's name. However, this still counts as an error because the official logo spells it with a TSU, instead of just a TU like in the title screen here. Next up is Friends of Mineral Town for the Game Boy Advance. While it's a very beloved game among fans, it's also right next to the SNES original when it comes to its numerous text errors. Would you like to relax on this sofa? How about buying some flour at the supermarket? And when a new animal is born on your farm, be sure to give it a name for this life. Also, look at this rock. Your hammer is level 5, but it can't crush this stone. First of all, my hammer is not at level 5. Second of all, what the hell is a stone? The villagers have some pretty amusing errors in their dialogue as well. Have you read Basil books? He has lots in the library. Not only that, but Anna's birthday is the 23rd of fall. However, no matter what day you give her a gift, she'll always react as though it's her birthday. I'm not quite sure if her friendship level will be increased the same way as if it actually were her birthday, but unless you already knew when her birthday was supposed to be, it's next to impossible to figure that out for yourself in-game. I also think Barley's getting a bit old to be running his ranch. For one, he calls the animal fodder he sells you chicken feed. Second of all, he thinks we're about to judge some cows at the sheep festival. Yes, I'd say it's time for Barley to retire. Or should I say, barely. Probably the strangest errors in the game are when certain characters don't speak English. After you've befriended Zack, he'll speak to you in Japanese whenever he comes by to pick up your shipments. Translated into English, he's saying, "It's become a pretty nice farm, hasn't it? From the way things look, it's pretty admirable." Despite complimenting you, he doesn't look very happy about it, but I guess that's a mistake too. And then there's Carter. On fall 14th, Duke will come by and ask if you'd like to help out at his winery. If you talk to Carter after this, he'll speak to you in German. Translated, he says, "A part-time job at the winery sounds like a lot of fun." You can then choose whether or not to tell him about the winery job. I can understand some Japanese text getting left behind by accident, since that is the language of origin for this game. However, I have no idea how German text ended up in the North American version of this game. Harvest Moon DS is another game with a lot of oddities, and I'm not just talking about how you can kill the mayor during the prologue. And yes, I know that I keep bringing this up, but you know what? I'll stop bringing it up when it stops being one of the most hilariously fucked up things you can do in this series, and since that's going to be never, I'm not ever going to stop bringing it up. So there. Anyways, I didn't really catch any typos in this one. However, I would categorize the translation as technically correct, but a bit awkward and clunky compared to how fluent English speakers talk, which is something I saw in Mineral Town as well. What Harvest Moon DS has plenty of, however, is glitches. In fact, this is probably the glitchiest entry in the series. Some of these are pretty harmless, like how I somehow reached Potpourri's first heart event. From what she says, the scene is apparently triggered by you buying a chicken from her. However, I had not purchased any birds from her, or even stopped by her shop once before she visited me. I had gotten one of my tools upgraded the day before though, so I guess the game was confused. There's also a glitch where a bunch of townspeople in the game will turn to Leia the mermaid on the main menu if you tap the touchscreen. So we had various palette swaps too, so if you ever want to see what Leia would look like with black hair and red eyes, there you go. Speaking of Leia, there's a pretty pesky bug that can occur if you marry her. In order to marry her, you need to have a duck pond built for her to swim around in. However, during a storm in summer or winter, the pond can blow away, taking her with it. If that happens, then she's gone for your game forever, meaning you can't talk to her or give her gifts. And if you didn't have a child with her, then that means you can't have a child with her now that she's disappeared. Which sucks, but considering she was probably floating around in fish and duck poop, that's probably a blessing in disguise for her. At least Daryl's tub was probably clean, and cleaned regularly. Another annoying glitch is one that leaves you unable to marry the Harvest Goddess or Witch Princess. If during the New Year's Eve festival, you're given buckwheat noodles instead of buckwheat flour, though you have a specific bug version of the game, which is version 1. In that case, this means you're unable to learn all the recipes or complete the shipping list, and therefore can't marry the goddess or the witch. Version 1.1 was later released in North America and Europe, which fixed this particular bug. However, you're shut out of luck if you're stuck with the original release. Other glitches, however, can actually be useful. One of the most famous of these is one where you can gain more or less infinite money. To do this, you need to hire the fishing sprite team during winter and place them at the beach. Eventually, you should now see that you have a ridiculous sum of money in your bank account. In fact, you'll probably have more money than you can spend throughout your entire playtime of the game, which can either make things less fun or give you more freedom, depending on your perspective. However, using this glitch has been reported to cause other issues such as freezing and data corruption, so use at your own risk. Also save often, because freezing and corruption have been known to happen during normal gameplay. There's also another glitch that allows you to shear unlimited wool from sheep. However, this technique can be a bit tricky, so I'll put a link in the description of the instructions. As you can see, Harvest Moon has quite the history when it comes to glitches and typos. Most of these issues were fixed with the subsequent girl versions of the games. And as someone who had only played those versions until now, it was interesting to see just how much more polished they were compared to the boy releases. Like I said earlier, the translations were pretty clunky the first time around, while the ones I played as a kid were a lot more natural sounding. I do feel bad for those that wanted to play as a male character though, and were stuck with some less than ideal localizations. And if you have any memories of interesting glitches from Harvest Moon, be sure to share them in the comments. I'd definitely like to hear your stories. Thanks so much for watching! If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click like, and subscribe if you want to see more.